Okay, it is Thursday, August 8th, the very first day of the 2019 Iowa State Fair, and I'm talking with my good friend Jeff Deitch. Jeff, you've had a few hours here at the fair. Tell me your initial impressions.
Well, here's the thing. This year I get to have the opportunity, Tom, to have a day and a half to enjoy the fair. Usually I get to do it once or twice a year, and the way things work out, I'm going to get a whole day today, Thursday, August 8th, with, again, as Tom and Jami and the rest of their family. And then I get to enjoy it again next Thursday night with my sister Marnie from about 4:30, 5 o'clock till 11 or so. And part of that time is going to be to go to and enjoy the Night Ranger and Foreigner concert. But you see, there is so much to do here at the Iowa State Fair that it takes quite a while to get through it. And even when I skip a lot of even when I have to skip 85 to 90% of the food vendors because of the religious requirements that we call kashrut, or keeping kosher, even despite that, and leaving that out and leaving a few exhibits out, there's still so many other things to see that it's a challenge to get through it in just half a day or even a day. I find it takes me a day and a half to 2 days to get through everything I want to see at the fair. But I am definitely very impressed with what I've seen so far. I've only been through a section so far with the egg building, where I saw this year's butter cow up close and personal, and the accompanying Sesame Street butter sculptures that are accompanying the butter cow this year, where Sarah Duffy and her team have sculpted butter figures of Big Bird, Oscar the Grouch, Cookie Monster, I think Zoe is another one, and also there's a butter TV made out of butter. Actually, the outer case is made out of butter, but then a real TV is hidden inside the butter enclosed case. So, and then it has an advertisement for Iowa Public Television where they played a role in having the butter version of the Sesame Street figures on display, and I'm really, really impressed with all the butter sculptures Sarah's team did, and I think they really outdid themselves. Probably the best butter exhibit I've seen. Yeah, I mean, Sarah Duffy and her team have always done an excellent job with the butter cow and every butter sculpture they've done, but this Sesame Street one, I think, is probably the number one top favorite of mine of all the butter sculptures I've seen.
I'm looking forward to seeing that myself. We haven't made it over that far. So you've been coming to the fair for quite some time, and as I understand, you're quite the aficionado. Would you share with us just a few random of your favorite facts or anecdotes about the history of the fair?
Well, I wouldn't call myself an aficionado because, again, I only get to come for a day and a half, 2 days, again, just to see that I can actually get through the things I want to see. But again, leaving out 85 to 90% of the food vendors, leaving out most of the bars, and leaving out most of the rides, because I don't want to get into a ride and then find that I'm going to injure myself or fall, God forbid. So there's still, again, so many things to see. The exhibits in the various places, and from past, and I will be hitting it later on in a little while, but take the County Cultural Center. All the exhibits that are on the 3 floors of the Cultural Center. In the past, it's taken me 2 hours to get through all these exhibits, or at the very least an hour and a half. And it's so much to see in relatively little time. I wouldn't be able to make a judgment as to which sculptures or entries are the best ones, because all the ones I've seen in the past were excellent. So I just want to be able to enjoy and savor all of the exhibits that people enter on all 3 floors of the County Cultural Center. So that's one thing. And then, again, looking at the exhibits in the Ag building. In fact, the rabbi of my synagogue, Rabbi Emily Barton, has actually submitted some kind of embroidered piece of art that for a contest, and I've been told it's either on the upper level of the Ag building or one of the other buildings. And then there's all the food contest things in the Family Center. Well, it doesn't take quite as much time. It's quite a lot to see. And then what else? Oh, and all the stuff in the very Industry building. There's just so much to get through there. And there, I just go to a few booths, especially to ones that are being operated by people I know pretty well, because I have several friends that are in the mass media, I got to see. I was going to see Bandoloni today at 11, but I could not find him. Just said strolling, didn't say where he would be, but I did get to see Vocal Trash during the noon hour, and they were outstanding. And 3 of the 5 people that are in the group now performed when I last saw them 2 to 3 years ago. Again, they were outstanding. I had a big group hug with all of them and just shared the photo of the 6 of us to my social media pages.
Can you describe where we are right now?
Right now, we are still in the middle of the 1 o'clock hour, and right now I'm sitting outside with Tom and Jami, among my really close friends in the world, along with the rest of their family. And right now we're sitting outside what's called the Susan Knapp Animal Learning Center. And then there's so much to see at the fair. Again, to try to fit it all in a day and a half. So again, even with limiting some things, it's a challenge to try to get through everything that I am able to see and want to see. So, but I may as well ask you what your favorite parts of the fair are, Jami.
My favorite parts are all of them. This is why I go for all 11 days and sleep here. And yeah, I love everything about the fair. Thank you. I love everything about the fair. So I can't pick a favorite. I mean, it's different every day. There's new things to see every day. Exhibits change. I just really love it. That's why I'm really curious, when you have one day here, what do you make sure that you hit? I know the shows. We talked about the shows, but what do you make sure you see?
Well, besides any performances I want to see I want to see everything in the Ag building, everything in whatever I can in the very Industries building, everything in the Cultural Center. And as I was just telling Tom, there's 3 floors full of entries.
Thank goodness it's air conditioned now.
Yeah, although today is not such a big deal, since today's only the 80s and the humidity's not that bad. But again, in the past it's taken me an hour and a half to 2 hours to get to look through all the exhibits on all 3 floors, and I have no doubt that when I go inside the Cultural Center during the afternoon, it's going to probably take me the same amount of time to look through all the exhibits. I don't think I'd be able to be a judge, to try to decide which works of art are the best ones, because they've all looked pretty good in the past, and I have no doubt they'll all be really good this time around. Oh, and of course I want to go inside the museum that's right next to Pioneer Hall, because there's a lot of history to learn from at the fair. And I have 2 books at home that talk about the fair's history and certain things at the fair, but going inside the museum building, I learn even more than what the books that I have in the fair tell me. So and of course I want to see if I see certain people from the media with booths, I want to say hi to them too as well. And I've actually gotten to meet 2 people from Channel 13. I know that several people from iHeartMedia and the Des Moines Radio Group that I want to try to say hi to during the afternoon or evening. So, there's just so many fun things to see here at the fair. And why I can't really call myself an aficionado, because I only go a couple days out of the year. But let's just say for the last 6-7 years, I've just had, become a fan of going twice a year and enjoying the things that I'm able to see. And it's just one of the things where you have to come in person to to really understand why it's such a big deal and why it's one of the major attractions in the state of Iowa. In fact, to me, it seems like it is the major attraction in Iowa, not counting certain entertainment events. But yeah, it's been a big deal here in Iowa and in Des Moines for over a century, but now just, the crowds have gotten bigger and bigger over the years, and the Blue Ribbon Foundation has done quite a bit to repair and renovate various buildings and to keep all the facilities in as good a shape as they can be, and attracting, acts that people enjoy and rides and whatnot. I mean, there's a lot I could talk about in terms of the fair, but again, each person should make it their own, see what they want to see and what works best for them, because one size does not fit all. And I've been talking about for the last 3 years on my Facebook page. Just the thing is, when the mass media pushes certain types of foods in the news stories they do from the fair and packages, well, for me, the thing is, because of the rules of keeping kosher, that's the Jewish dietary laws, I have to refrain from 85 to 90% of the food that's served at the fair when they're promoting things that are filled with bacon and pork and meat and dairy mixtures and, the chicken, beef, and lamb that does not go through the requirements involved in keeping kosher. And so the thing is, there are plenty of times I actually want to eat the bacon and the non-kosher meat and the meat dairy mixtures and all that, but because the Torah and Jewish law forbid, me from eating them, I just simply can't. And it's not easy to refrain, but I gotta do it, and that's the way it is. But there's still 10 to 15% of foods I can enjoy that are vegan and vegetarian, including stuff at the veggie table. I enjoyed a nice brisket bar at Parlo Pizza that had a wide variety of bread and a variety of vegetarian toppings, and a bunch of other vegetarian treats. So
now I've noticed, and our listeners can't see, but you're wearing a Nothing Compares Moments shirt from last year and a Nothing Compares Moments hat from last year. Do you buy a shirt and a hat every year?
I wouldn't say every year, although I did buy a new shirt just a couple hours ago that is white. But thing is, though, I can buy one t-shirt every year ago, but I can't obviously buy all the apparel, not just because of watching the budget, but also because I only have so much room in my closet and my drawers for clothing. And but yeah, I bought a nice white t-shirt today that has one of the slogans for this year's fair. But yeah, I'm wearing the t-shirt and ball cap that I purchased last year, and I thought today would be a perfect day to wear those.
Well, it looks fantastic. So, and I know that you and I talked about this personally earlier, but I think that it's an interesting bit of trivia that's worth sharing with your listeners. So I asked Jeff if he knew how many fairs over the years had been canceled, and he did know the answer. So I'm gonna let him answer for you. Okay.
So so the thing is, even though the fair began in the mid-1800s, and it's been in Des Moines since 1886 at the present site on the east side of Des Moines, there are a few times that the State Fair actually had to cancel, one of which was in 1898 because of the Spanish-American War that we were dealing with at the time, and then also the Omaha World Fair that was taking place in Omaha, and then they had to cancel 4 or 5 of the fairs during World War II as well. But otherwise, it's been a staple and one of the biggest and most major attractions since the mid-19th century, and since 1886 in Des Moines.
Yeah, and I did want to come back. You mentioned the Blue Ribbon Foundation doing a great job on the grounds, and they do a fantastic job. There are some historic buildings, architecture out here that you just won't see anywhere else, and lots of mature trees and acres of land, and they do an outstanding job of maintaining it. And if people want to support the Blue Ribbon Foundation, you go to blueribbonfoundation.org, and there's all kinds of things you can do. You can buy a brick in honor of someone or in honor of yourself. You can get a memorial plaque to take care of a tree. There's all kinds of stuff. Even if you buy from the Blue Ribbon stands, which probably is where your T-shirt came from, that money goes to support the fair. The water often goes to support the fair. The Blue Ribbon Foundation, and then there's an auction at the end of the fair on the last day, I think in the afternoon, where the chainsaw carvings are all auctioned off, and they also auction off the meat. I don't know the prize-winning meat. I can't speak to it because I closed my eyes for most of that part. But anyway, well, it's wonderful talking to you out here at our beautiful fair, and it just couldn't be a better first day. And you just look like the perfect fair goer in last year's garb, and I'm happy to be here with you.
I'm so glad that we got to do another audio interview, a special edition of Jeff's Friends Interview Him, the Iowa State Fair edition. Let's end it, of course, on a big hug. Thank you so much, Jamie.
Thank you, Jeff.